This diorama dates from the end of the 19th century and was mounted in London by a famous taxidermy house, that of Rowland Ward. It contains 24 animals from Australia and requires, after more than a century, a deep restoration. Over the decades, 3 sources of degradation have mistreated the mounts: light, humidity, and parasites. The display case was originally hermetically sealed. In all likelihood, moths or larvae were locked up as soon as they closed it. Initially unnoticed, they multiplied in this enclosed environment and had no choice but to nibble inexorably. A few holes would not in themselves be serious, but the intensity of the attacks and poor conservation conditions have caused havoc, which has particularly affected the koala and the bats. One of the bats was completely destroyed, and the entire fur, that of the koala, was detached from the leather. Given the extent of the damage, the restoration took more the form of a rescue. The way this diorama is built is typical for Rowland Ward. Each element is securely fixed, and is part of the decoration to form one piece. Multiple anchor points fix every base onto the ground floor, and all debris are glued individually. It is therefore impossible to extract the animals, and the majority of the work must be carried within the display case. Only the goanna and one of the bats can be removed easily. The original defects were also cleverly masked by vegetation and fur additions. These defects probably come from the preparation, transport, and storage of the skins, even before their arrival in London. The first step is to remove some of the vegetation and start cleaning. This operation begins carefully, then depending on the strength of the different parts, a firmer cleaning allows to dislodge the more encrusted debris. The legs of the Asian jabiru only need a little restoration. This is a common damage in naturalized birds, even for recent mounts, and doesn't question the work of the preparer. Rowland Ward came from a family of naturalists. His grandfather was already a merchant of animal skins, and his father had acquired a certain fame as a taxidermist. From 1872, at the age of 27, Rowland Ward owned his own workshop. In the late 1870s, after his brother left for the United States and his father died, he found himself the only active member of the Ward family. He created the famous shop, The Jungle, which he set up in Piccadilly in London. This is where this diorama was mounted. Apart from the legs of the jabiru, the birds seemed quite well preserved. A cleaning and a few feather repositionings might have been enough, but a closer look showed that some are more damaged than they seemed at first sight. The wings of kookaburras and frogmouths were nibbled from the inside. The small feathers at the edge of the wings no longer hold, and are too small and too numerous to be removed and replaced. These areas were stabilized using a penetrating, non-plasticizing adhesive. This conservation intervention is, strictly speaking, not a restoration. These are two different concepts. Conservation aims to stop damage and stabilize objects in their present state. But to regain the aesthetic value of the showcase, it is necessary to carry out a number of restoration, that is, improving the state of the mounts. The advanced decay of the bats requires special attention. The choice is to preserve a maximum of original fur, which involves re-gluing the hair onto the skin. For this, a sufficiently viscous adhesive, with good wetting power, has been developed. To fill the gaps, the use of a natural fur is privileged, and selected to correspond with the original rendering. Finally, the damaged wing is lined with Japanese paper. The techniques and materials used are borrowed from both art restoration and taxidermy. These two components are complementary. A practical knowledge of ancient and modern techniques, as well as a detailed analysis of each specimen, makes it possible to answer the different questions that the restorer asks. How are the animals prepared and assembled? What are the typical working methods of a signature? Which areas are generally more susceptible to parasites? Where should we be more careful? The monitor lizard also has more damage than expected. The legs are very deteriorated, but it is not useful to carry out a complete restoration, because it is limited to non-visible parts. Operations consist of consolidating fragile parts, conscientiously cleaning the animal, repairing visible damage, and adding artificial claw. The Industrial Revolution and the extent of the British Empire contributed to the success of Rowland Ward's workshop. A wealthy new social class can now roam the empire and bring back animals from all over the world. In parallel with the taxidermy service, the firm provides collectors and museums in Europe with naturalized specimens. At the turn of the 20th century, Rowland Ward was at its peak. The koala is the most emblematic species of Australian fauna. The vulnerability of the species gives it a heritage value, and particularly in this diorama, signed by a taxidermist as important as Rowland Ward. This justifies saving this hard-hit specimen and restoring it, as far as possible, to its former appearance. It is a long and meticulous work that the restorer puts in place to restore this koala. When Rowland Ward died in 1912, he had no children to ensure his estate. The company then passes from hand to hand. Gradually, the British Empire broke up, the great European hunters were replaced by Americans, and with them, developed renowned taxidermy houses across the Atlantic. Laws governing hunting, trophy sale, and trade in protected species hardened. Finally, the fashion of the stuffed animal as decoration declined sharply. Rowland Ward's taxidermy department, still very active in the 50s and 60s, closed in the mid-1970s. Today, in the antique taxidermy market, Rowland Ward's name is arguably one of the most sought after. In the long run, light has degraded the pigments that naturally give furs their colors. This discoloration is observed on all animals naturalized on display, which is why museums are trying to control light sources, more than in the past. The process used to restore colors to the mammals of this diorama is reversible and durable over time. Interventions are indeed non-invasive, stable, and reversible, that is to say that it must be possible to go back, and this without bringing new sources of degradation. This may mean limiting interventions, but it is to be weighed against the solidity and the expected result, and to adapt, as is the case here, to the extent and nature of the damage. Each restoration is therefore considered on a case-by-case basis. The restorer also makes sure to keep a coherence in the rendering of the acts performed, so that no animal denotes in the composition, and ensures that the repairs are as discreet as possible, at least at the distance at which the object is supposed to be looked at. The objective is therefore, without being a refurbishment, to restore what is called the readability of the work. Once the work is done, the vegetation can be replaced, and the glazing put back in place. Since Rowland Ward and the British Empire, since the 19th century and the golden age of natural history, as a legacy of the past, this showcase diorama has come to us tired of the ravages of time, and the elements. Its restoration now guarantees its preservation, not only as a testimony to the history of taxidermy, but also as a photograph of an era, giving it an artistic, scientific, and historical value. In short, heritage.